Getting started, getting warmed up. Getting warmed up. Black Hippie Jesus podcast. We about to get into it. Yeah. And we back. And we black. We don't do crack. We smoke weed. We drop seeds of knowledge. We ain't get this from college. We get it from our third eye. Let me get this up and rolling so I can start it. I'm just over here freestyling. Welcome to the Black Hippie Jesus podcast, where we are beginning back again. I just gotta start recording on my other screen. Black Hippie Jesus podcast. Once again, I took a sabbatical because I had to go on a journey, and I went on that journey, and I am back now. I'm back in the place actually where I started the podcast in the beginning. Interesting thing. I am right back on the same side of the world that I started it, and I'm in the synchronicity with the 222. So I always make sure to stay on my synchronicity of this year, which is 222. And we're gonna get in all that as I get into talking about the awakening journey. So today's podcast is going to be titled The Awakening, the Journey. And I'm going to be going over my journey, my awakening, and why I just had a sudden change for those people that knew me before and the way that I was before. I had something happen, and I had to tell the story on this podcast today. So we rocking. I'm just getting warmed up, getting started. I just smoked a little bit of weed like I always do. Actually, I've been every podcast I've been high. So I've integrated with weed where I'm actually the same almost when I'm off and on it, where it's fully integrated with me to the point where it's like as soon as I do it, I just feel the energy and I get into my flow, get into my vibes, and it keeps me on the ninth dimension of consciousness, which I will get into as we continue to go along on this journey. I'll be teaching what's called the kingdom, the 12 dimensions of consciousness. I received this from a vision on a Bufo trip I had, where I went through these dimensions all the way up to a bright light, and I met God, and it was an amazing experience. But those things that I saw, I then had to go on a quest and find out exactly what these things were. And this is my own personal, like I said in the podcast, my own personal subjective experience. However, it was, to me, very real having this trip and going all the way and meeting God and finding out what it was, what it's all about, what I'm here for, who I was, so many different mystical things, which I'm going to explore more in this podcast as I seek to expand consciousness through this avenue, telling these stories, things like that. So I'm here now, just ready to rock it, ready to get back into it. This story today, or this podcast, is titled "The Awakening, the Journey." We're about to get started. Let me just turn this down. I think I'm gonna vibe out to the music now. This is I don't own the rights to this music. There's actually no copyright on this music. It says, according to the YouTube channel I'm playing it from, so it's all good. So here we go. The journey. So I want to tell my story. I do want to tell my story today, and why I am where I am at right now. So the journey for me, I'm gonna go give a bit of a background. Let me just do that. So, where does this Black Hippie Jesus name come from? The Kwame Selassie. What happened from 2020 to 2021. And so, but first, give a little background on me and my journey as my spiritual journey in life. It really started as a young boy, from a very young age, just really, really drawn and attracted to spirituality. When I first laid eyes on the Bible, actually, it was like something in me was like, what is that book? It seemed like it was like scary and mysterious at the same time, and and it just drew me to it. And ever since then, I've been attached to it, powerfully attached to it. So much so that I remember even having experiences with God, even from a young child. Because my heart space was like, yo, I want to know God. I want to, I wanted to know what it's all about. Even from a young age, I wanted to understand God and mysteries. So it was something that was there from birth. So from there, I stayed with my faith. I stayed very, very, very in tune with my faith for a while until I let it go in high school. Then after high school, after I was walling out, I think a lot of my friends remember this, I got born again and saved and all that, and really transformed at that time. And that was the beginning. That transformation, that beginning one is where my journey began with Christianity. And that was something where I went in. I'm not going to tell that story today. Actually, that's not the story I want to tell today. I want to tell that story another time. Actually, the story that I want to tell today is connected to that, but I'm talking about this as a setup. When I was a Christian, I went heavy. I went hard, and those that know me know that I studied the Word of God intensely, intensely studying to understand the mysteries of what we don't see, the unseen realm. The Bible says faith is substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Wanting to know what's unseen, wanting to experience what's unseen, and that's when I started to go deep, and I studied the Word, and I started to go deep in spiritual experience, fasting, praying, where I had experiences with miracles, and when I would pray for people and things like that, seeing these amazing things that were being done through me, and that's where it all began. And I knew that it was a powerful magic attached to, because I was very into the charismatic scene, and I went to 3 years of Bible school, which I studied intensely for 3 years, and actually practiced ministry, practical hands-on ministry within a big non-denominational charismatic church, which I still deeply respect, which helped mold and shape my spirituality and gave me a system that I still use today, which is part of the Bible, but I'm not a Christian, which I'm going to tell the story in a minute. I learned how to preach and teach preach and teach and help people during their hardest times. People that were going through all types of breakups and all types of death experiences, having to visit people in their traumatic moments. And I learned how to be a minister, a real, true, and genuine minister, someone that would be there, not to, really boost my own ego and myself, but just really just be there. And that's kind of what I was and I felt like. And of course, I had a dream to be a mega church pastor, and which was kind of the ego and the glory of that. But I still wanted to help people at the end of the day. At the end of the day, I was going to be that good shepherd that was, all right, whatever it takes, whatever it costs, I'm going to do it, because I feel like it was like my calling, right? So went heavy in that, went, halfway houses, was preaching, I did things like going into halfway houses and jails and Bible studies that I had on my own. And it was really that type of experience. So that helped me give me a lot of experience with spiritual practical use of spirituality. How do we use spirituality to actually help people? And that experience set the stage for me. And now on top of that, I gained 15 years of studying a book that I pretty much know. Like I said, I was drawing it from a child. So a book that I pretty much know from in and out, from a long time. And it has guided me. It's given me a lot of wisdom that people wonder that why I don't have certain scars in my life, because I had wisdom even from a kid. I was reading Proverbs. I was reading Psalms. So, I was that type of weird kid that would sit up and read these spiritual books and get understanding and be able to explain it to people. It's really truly a gift that I have, that I am coming full circle now. And this is where this podcast, where I talk about the journey, is really, I'm going to come back to this understanding of this gift, and what it means to be a preacher, because it's a gift that's given to some of us so that for a certain reason, to awaken the body, which is us, all of us, to move and mobilize and transform and change what is broken, what doesn't work. And when you look back at the preachers of old, I'm not talking about this preacher movement we just had, which I'm gonna get into. We came out of a mind control camp with this charismatic, no disrespect to it, but just looking back, none of it really did anything that was useful to the general or useful to the people and helping them transform their life on the basic. Just a lot of people believing in something, but that's not the point of the story. But we just know that that was just self-serving, a lot of self-serving, a lot of um, just people in the wanting to receive glory, and when you think about Christianity, there's churches on every single corner, and especially where I'm from in Michigan and in Metro Detroit, and churches everywhere, but you look around and you don't see results, and that is where I left that. So just to kind of move the story forward, um, just awakenings in my life after having certain experiences, going through a Christian, for example, marriage, and going through a Christian life. My whole life was a Christian bubble for a long time. And I allowed this to happen because I didn't have what's called consciousness. And this is where my ministry I'm going to start, and I'm going to talk about this later, called Faith Deconstructed, is helping people with consciousness, understanding how to raise your awareness so that no one's going to come in to you with a lie and trick you and make you believe something that doesn't have results in reality. You don't see um, the transformational power in society. It just, what it does, it gives people some hope, maybe some hope for some transformation in life. It does do good things, but it is one of the biggest failures in history. And I'm going to show that as we go forward. So this ministry will be just to deconstruct that. It's called Faith Deconstructed. It's just to deconstruct all that stuff that we learned that was not useful. And which I'm going to tell in a story. I came back to my original, after I was going to abandon this thing, I came back to it because I seen the light. It was just being used the wrong way entirely. I mean, it was being abused. Christianity was being abused. It is an abusive system, and I'm going to get into that later. But not to go too far on any rants, it's all connected. But I'm building something now that seeks to not indoctrinate, but unindoctrinate. How do we understand the things that are in our mind, and how do we raise our conscious level to be able to see even ourselves from a higher light? And I went through this process of what's called deconstruction, and I'm starting this ministry to help people deconstruct from the things that are in their head that control them, that make their lives not ideal. It makes their lives very, very confusing and painful, and they feel like they're going in circles a lot of times because of this society environment that we live in. So deconstruction is important because it's hard. It's a very hard process because you got to face things. You got to face yourself. You got to face things that you may not want to, but when you get done with it, when you go through your mind and be like, look, this was in here because of this. I think this way because this event happened. And you start to get to the roots of why you're acting the way you're acting and think the way you're thinking. You can do this yourself. This is what I call salvation. You can save your own life, by digging deep within yourself. Because even Jesus said the kingdom of God in Luke 17:21, go read it. The kingdom of God is within you. 12 dimensions of consciousness are within you. I'm going to go through those 12 in my new church, Faith Deconstructed. So please just support. You can support me. I do have a what's a Cash App, which is $ Faith Decon. That's FAITHDECON. This will help me with this particular mission, because it's going to take a lot of work for me to get around a lot of places to help people understand this book called the Bible and understand what they believe, understand the things that are in their head, so that they can become more aware and raise their consciousness and teach the basic fundamentals of the spirituality. So this is just the intro, 15, 16-minute intro, but it's all good. We're going to go into now the journey. So this journey, I just had to set the stage. This journey that I was on started in 2020, the pandemic. Well, I'm gonna say this: when I was in Taiwan, I was basically recently divorced, going bankrupt, drunk, living out in Asia. And I was living it up, having a good time, but I was going through some inner turmoil. I looked at my life and I was like, "What the hell is going on?" You know what I'm saying? You got to come to that moment, and this is where I like the Pistis Sophia, the teachings of Jesus after he died and rose again, according to the story. He taught for 11 years about the kingdom. And he told a story of Sophia. This is, and by the way, I'm a Gnostic. I've become a Gnostic, which it's not about belief. Gnosticism is about acquiring knowledge, and that can be through altered states of consciousness or what you experience. Or it's all about knowledge as opposed to belief. So faith is not important. Faith is actually an entirely different thing, which I'm going to teach later than what they actually postulate to be. The whole book has been doctored up and changed, and I actually know the real true book after looking at all these ancient documents. I was able to uncover what the real Bible really is, what it really means, and some of the mysteries about Jesus. And what I'm going to get into, stay with me. Don't want to get off my train of thought, but you get to a point where, I was just in a like, man, I fucked my life up, dog. Like I was like, yo, I fucked my life up. I had to face myself. Like, look, man, I'm a fucking drunk. I came back. I was like, look, I gotta do some shit with my life. I was getting drunk every fucking night. Just every night, just getting drunk and going out and meeting girls and hooking up and just living a life of a just complete loser. I'm sorry to say that, but it was just like I wasn't progressing. I wasn't progressing inside. It was like I felt like, man, I was dying. Really. So I really had to get myself together. So it was during COVID, and a pandemic just happened, which gave me another reason to leave and just come back home, because actually the pandemic just happened in China. I was in Taiwan. I was like, okay, it's time to dip. This stuff is really not working out anyway, and there's a pandemic happening, and some SARS-CoV-2 happened going on over COVID. And I actually had it. The funny thing is I got sick around the time. I didn't even know I had it, but I had it because I didn't get sick after that, actually at all. So I don't get sick at all, but that was sickness I got. It was weird, and I was like, man, this happened. Like I never get sick, and so I knew that it was COVID when I got it, but I didn't know at the time. So I figured out later after the test about with the antibodies. So with that, going through, I figured out, so, I got to get out of here. So I left and sought to come back to America, finishing school, went hard on that, looking for, get back into the hustle and bustle. But then COVID came and followed me here. And I remember, I was in the middle of getting a good job, actually, that I got later. It's a funny thing. COVID just put on pause, and I had to go through some life situations, and then the job came later. But I was waiting for a decent job, and I really tried to get back to work, and COVID stopped that, and everything shut down. Even in Atlanta, where I was living, everything had shut down for about a month. And I was just at the crib, like sitting there, like, man, watching Netflix every day, eating food. I was getting fat. I got to about 180 pounds, and that was like crazy for me because I'm a buck. I've been a $150 from high school, like less than that probably to high school, and to pack on that much weight, especially after being like 160 when I was probably went to Taiwan, to about 180, 185, like close to 184. Actually, the highest I got was 184. That's when I was like almost in the hospital. I had high blood pressure. I was eating all this food, and I was like sitting back watching Netflix, being stuck at home, and I was having panic attacks. I felt like I was having a heart attack. I don't even know if it was panic attack, heart attack, anxiety attack. I was having some issues because of the life I've been living. I've probably been drinking. I've still been drinking. I was still drinking a lot even when I came back because it's a habit at that time. Just living in that, in that mode of just in American life, you just sitting there in front of the damn TV. You're sitting there in the TV, and I had to break out of that. You know what I'm saying? I had to break out of this whole sitting there in front of the TV, and I was being brainwashed by the media. Like I was sitting there scared. Like it was like one of the worst things because I was sitting at home scared about this damn virus, and I was having panic attacks. And it was like I was fat. And my blood pressure was like one. I forget the numbers right now, but I put it on a post. My blood pressure was high, and I felt like I was gonna die. They had no health insurance. America's a trip when you don't have certain things. It makes you even more like, look, this stuff makes you even more. It's more anxiety when you dealing with anxiety, and then you feel like you're about to die on something, but you can't go to the hospital because guess what? You ain't got no insurance. So yeah. Anyway, I'm not getting that aspect of America right now, but I am going to be talking more about America and just awakening, and which I'm going to talk about actually in this episode as well. Just fast forward, the story. I'm just not doing well. I'm really not doing well, and I'm like, look, I gotta do something. You know what I'm saying? I was like, I have to do something. If I don't do something, I'm gonna die. That's the thought I have. I'm not ready to die because I still knew I had light in me. I still knew that I had something on the inside of me that can help people. I just got to break free from this bullshit that I'm in. Break free from, this darkness that's on me, and free my mind and break it, and then start to do something. Start to do better. So, I really felt that way, and I even began to pray back to God. Like I was really trying to reach back. I was like, I opened my Bible back up. I was like, "Yo, something help me," because I'm lost right now. And I just remember I was actually prayed in tongues. Those that know what that is in the charismatic, and I still pray in tongues. It's actually something. It's not based on your theology. Surprise! It's not based on your theology. It's a spiritual practice, and it helps you tremendously. It puts you in a mode and it raises your vibration, especially when you're in a low vibration like I was. So I was praying to God and reaching out, and I began to feel that comfort. Like, okay, all right, things are things are gonna be okay. So really just like, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm just gonna eat right. The first thing you can do about a transformation, about an awakening, is to eat right. You know what I'm saying? Like, look, eating, you are what you eat. The vibrations you eat you are it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're like, look, if you're eating animals that eat, for example, rats, animals that eat anything that's put inside its bin, even excrement, and you're consuming animals that eat, it's just a simple logic. This is what we call conscious. You think about certain things like, okay, why am I consuming this particular beast? You look, you go, oh, there's traditional things. Well, when they were started doing this, they were in a certain state of consciousness. They didn't know how to look at parasites. What parasites? They probably did some. Well, not so much during a certain time, but they didn't really know what these parasites were that were inside these animals that were eating, making people sick. And when you're eating these things, you're becoming something. You're becoming metaphysically and genetically changing you because you're eating flesh. You're eating flesh that makes you flesh, that makes you in a flesh state. It keeps you in a low state of mind. It keeps you heavier. It causes all type of health problems. So it's a metaphysical thing. It's not even about you know like condemnation like that, making people feel bad or eat meat. It's like, you look at the science, yo. Like, people want to talk about trusted science. Okay, let's look at the science on some of this stuff and look at what's doing it to our bodies. We're consuming entirely too much meat, and it's actually causing so many issues geologically. It's causing so many issues socioeconomically. All this meat consumption. It's man. I'm not gonna get in that part today, but you see what I mean. You know, um, this whole thing with meat has gotten out of hand. Like, if we look at, if you go in the past, you see that our ancestors didn't eat that much meat. Some did. Okay, here's a philosophy on eating meat. When the animal's ready to sacrifice itself, it will give its own life for the benefit of all. Everybody can have that protein, because meat protein is actually the lowest form of energy, in which I'm going to talk about energy, frequency, vibration, and the metaphysics of it, because it's not just all spiritual jargon. It's all also physics. That is spirituality, in which we will talk about as I go down the road. Is that spirituality is consciousness. It's one and the same, because every spirit has conscious faculties to be able to. So we want to talk about spirituality. You can't disconnect consciousness from it. So consciousness has to be developed inside of a being, inside of a person, which is energy. So everything has energy. We're all energy, and I'm going to get into that later. And I'm not going to say what I believe, what I know, which stuff the CIA knows, is that what Einstein knew. Everything is energy. Everything is everything. Everything is the same. Everything that you if you look at another person, you're looking at yourself, because both of you are both energy in an interface. What we call the third dimension, this earth or the planet we live in, is a interface where the energy, which the different consciousness nodes get to interact with each other, share information. That's it. And when you think about it that way, when you really dig deep into consciousness and awareness of what we are, that we are conscious and aware beings that are supposed to grow in consciousness, and you go on that quest like I did, here in the story. So just going back to, so not to get back too often to these metaphysical things, but it's all just going back just to say it's all physics. Everything is physics. Everything, you got to mix physics and spirituality together. When you put the two together, everything makes sense. And you will see that everything in the universe has consciousness. Plants have consciousness. Animals have consciousness. Everything is aware. Everything is aware. It just communicates differently. And African ancestors talked to plants. They talked to animals. They understood the vibration, that everything is not about words, it's about the vibration. And when you understand vibration, you understand that everything that is moving is vibrating. So vibration is movement. So everything is at motion energy at rest. So, but everything's energy. So I'm not gonna get into physics right now, but I am learning this stuff too. So if I'm not fully correct, I'm still learning. But it's amazing because I've been spending all my life learning spirituality and religion, but now I'm learning physics with scientific things. I'm like, oh my god, it all makes sense. It all makes sense. And there are people who are breaking this stuff down way better than me. But I'm gonna talk about this stuff from the biblical perspective because that's what I was trained in, and that's what a lot of people are know that language as well. So I can explain these metaphysical things with the biblical language that's used, that's been left here for us. So just to give a backdrop of my theological perspectives and what I'm really on is a enlightenment type of thing with Christianity, which I'll show that in the person of Christ, in the person of Jesus in the story, there are the 12 dimensions of consciousness, which he called the kingdom. You're going to see me loop and say these things often because we have to talk about what the kingdom is. People want to know what that 1D, 2D, 3D, 4D, what that 5D stuff is. It has a lot to do with Jesus. And I'm going to break that down and what it has to do with this story I'm telling right now. The 12 dimensions of consciousness, the awakening experience you have to that. And Jesus taught this as a way to ascend above where you are in this third dimension, so you don't become locked in a certain mindset, a certain mind frame, because your consciousness goes wherever it is. So when you're to be out of the body is be present with the spirit world. As soon as you leave the body, with the conscious world, the consciousness are just around. And which I go and I talk about my YouTube channel, what happens after you die. So when you come out of the body, you're still alive, you're still aware, you're still there. But wherever your mindset was on murdering people, guess what? You're gonna be where the people that the consciousness frequency of people that murder, the people that are certain darkness, you're gonna be there. But if you're a vibration, if you're when you die, if you're a high vibration of person, you're in light. You have your auric body is lighter, and you go and ascend higher. So it's all based on your conscience where it is. If your conscience is high, if it's in love, if it's in peace, if it's in joy, if it's in goodness, gentleness, if it's all these things, you're going to what's called the ninth dimension, which is the gates of heaven. But if it's on lust, murder, thievery, stealing, all these different things, you're closer to the earth and you go down just by karmic and arc weight. So it's all physics. So I'm really excited about this physics and spirituality crossover thing, so I'm gonna get into it. But it's all physics. It's not about, there's no God really sending you there. It's all like a grid when I'm talking about, and you can't go certain places if you don't have certain auric weight, and you can't vibrate high enough to break through the frequency fences that are beyond us. I'm gonna get into it, man. I'm gonna get into it. Y'all stay with me. I'm gonna get into talk about the dimension of consciousness and what I saw on my Bufo trip and all these, and also subsequent trips that I had, which I'll talk about also in this story. Subsequent trips I had with mushrooms and so forth, and some of the awakenings I had. So back to the story, I was really, really had in that, and the first thing I did was change my diet. I stopped eating certain things, and I started eating just all raw, right? And I was able to drop, like 5 pounds in like a few days, which my blood pressure started to fall. Things started to change. I'm like, all right, good. I kept it. That's like going running every day. It's like, I gotta beat this shit I put myself in. I gotta beat this hole that I dug for myself, that I put myself in. I gotta actually come out of it. So that's what I did. I really, really went in deep. It's like in a motivational sense. I was like, I gotta beat this. Doing push-ups, getting ready. Like, I gotta get my mind, in a survive fight, which is first dimensional consciousness, which I will talk about. Get into survival and fight and try to beat something that's going to try to take the value that I can bring to the planet. And I felt that it was happening, and I fought through it. And I got to a place, and I got through that month, and I got my weight down. And it was a plus. So the whole month of April 2020, I was in a battle. I was fighting for my life, and nobody knew that because I had no friends. I was at a home alone for 30 some days. I mean, I wasn't talking to nobody. I was at the crib on Facebook, man, and Netflix, and just thinking about my life, and just like, yo, my life sucks right now, man. Like real talk. And it was just like a moment that I had. Then I had to beat. So that was like my first awakening. Like the first moment of awakening was that I had to save my own life. And some of you guys are there right now. Some people are in that mode right now where it's like, you're in a messed up third dimensional experience right now. You can't figure out how to break yourself out of these what's called circumstance loops, right? Where the children of Israel in the book of in Exodus, they were stuck in loops. Even though the trip was supposed to take 11 days, it was taking years, right? So what was happening? They were in a circumstance loop. And if you watch the movie The Matrix, in The Matrix 4, you look at Neo when he's like working and going through these cycles, and life it just really doesn't feel right and it sucks, and you feel like you got to do something. That's a part of the awakening experience. So some people are listening to me right now, understand my voice. Like, look, you're in a space where, look, man, I'm sick, I'm hurting, I got problems, the relationship problems, money problems. I got all types of stuff going on, and I don't know how to break free from it. I don't even know to turn to it. I don't know what to do. And as you listen to the story, I'm gonna share with you what I did. And the first thing I did to save my own life. When I talk about narcissism, look, you are Jesus. That's why I call myself the Black Hippie Jesus, because I am. Not in the sense of, I'm God, like Jesus never called himself God, number one. He never said that. He said, I am. That stuff goes over everybody's head. The people, the theologians, start put inferences in there. He's talking about no. He just said, I am. Meaning, I am all things. Because I understand that just as I am also you, I was you in that place. I'm a different version of yourself, talking to you, telling you that you can do this. You can break free from this stuff that's holding you back right now. You can break free from it. You just got to have faith in yourself. You see that? Your higher self is Jesus. You are the Christ. You can save your own life. You got to do something. You can't keep praying, man. Sitting and praying is not going to do nothing. You got to figure it out. You got to open some books. Go and humble yourself and go ask people some questions like, look, man, I need some help, man. You seem like you got this part together. Can you help me, please? Something our generation has lost how to do. We're so prideful in our ways. We can't sit down with someone and say, look, man, can you help me? Because we got to look like we all together. And the majority of people right now do not have it all together. I can tell you that right now. You're at home suffering, because I know I was doing that because I broke free. I was at home suffering. I was at home feeling like I was going to commit suicide because I didn't understand life no more. You get caught up in these circumstances, you don't understand life anymore. You're just sitting there like, man, what the fuck is this all about? Every day you're just like, what is this all about? And you can't put your finger on it, and you're just living in this mode, and you make excuses for it. You make excuses for why you're living the way that you're living. And that's where it has to end. That's when he's like, you can't make excuses for this stuff no more. You keep making excuses for it, it stays. It becomes you. You say, hello, darkness, you're my friend. However that song is. Hello, darkness. Matter of fact, let me play that, man. Let me play that. I don't want to write this song. So this is some of y'all right here, man. Because you're inviting misery. You're inviting the pain. You're keeping it here through your own thinking. Because you can't control your mind. You got to control that mind of yours. I've been there, man. I gotta rewind that. I like this song though. All right. So some of you are in this mode. I was just wallowing in depression. Like, man, just like on this whole mode of like even this poetic, suffering, type of ideas, and embracing that. And when you get rid of that religion, religious thoughts that God is stopping you, He's doing this to your life. That is not true. God is not doing this to your life. It's not. Yes, sorry, it's not. I know God in a different way now. No, that's not you. You are in your way. You have to save your life. You are the one. You are Neo. And this is the theological understanding we got to come to. That's why we got to deconstruct and reconstruct something that works for the soul. That works for not some person over you telling you, oh, you're doing wrong. No, telling you, hey, things are wrong. It's not you're doing things wrong, meaning you're sinning. Things are wrong because it is wrong. The things that you think in your head are wrong, and you need to undo it and redo it, and your life changes as a result. So we'll get into that. But break out of the sadness, break out of the pain, break out of the depression. And this is where I found at the end of my 2020 journey, it was like I found weed, or I'll say this is like the middle 2020 journey. I found cannabis, and it saved my life once again. It helped me come out of the depression, and actually I've been through a lot with it. Actually, some of the beginning trips were not so good, but nonetheless, my life transformed, because it was like when I started smoking weed, it was just really started being more introspective, even further, right? So in 2020, I found like me and some friends were just gathering when May hit, and I just started taking weed a little slowly and little by little. I'm doing this music kind of weird. Hold on, and I'm doing this. I'm doing this weed and stuff, and it's like, it's opening my mind to such levels that I'm like, I'm seeing myself. So this is where I really did a lot of shadow work with me and weed, because what it did was it opened me to me. It showed me. So when I look at weed, the spiritual aspect of weed, it's a marijuana cannabis, we gonna call it. It is a eye opener. And as I was looking and deconstructing myself, when I was looking at myself, I was like, look, I am not right. I am not whole still, and I'm like, and weed was helping me show I had fears. I still had problems. I was still chasing the wrong women. I remember I was dealing with the wrong people for me, my vision and things that I had for my life. And just, living in, seeing that I'm still in that same cycle, because there are things in my head that I hadn't deconstructed yet, especially like with relationships. I'm going to talk about in the next episode. I think I'm going to stop on this note, but I really, really had that transformational experience and just started to open my mind when I was smoking weed at home and seeing things. And when I started to kind of pick apart, like, why I was like dealing with certain things, like why I was dating certain people, why I was after certain girls, why I was eating everything, and I picked it apart, and I was like, this stuff is in my head because somebody put it there. It's making me do things. And what I'm talking about is the ideas of our society. When you're a child, you're in theta state of mind. You're in that mind state of being programmed. And as you look around you, and the things that you grew up looking at were telling you subconsciously what life is all about. And then what you do is you accepted that as a young child, and it molded you, and it became a part of you. So now you're acting as an actor by a script. It's a trip. You're an actor. It's a script. You're an actor. It's a script. So when you're in that state of mind, in that theta state, you know, you're being programmed, and we've been programming 95% of the stuff that's in our head from commercialized commercial business showing us how to live, from the music to the movies, the entertainment, Hollywood. These people, they have our best interests in mind. So my mind was filled with certain bad bitches and shit like that. I didn't even know. I don't need no bad bitches, man. I don't need. Well, no. Okay, I don't need a relationship with bad bitches. I'm just gonna say that. I'm gonna put that out there. But no, I was looking for the wrong type of people all the time because I had things in my mind that shouldn't have been in there, and I had to pick it out. Like, look, I was programmed by rap music, man. I was programmed by all this stuff, and this shit was making my life the way that it was because I was unconsciously doing the things that are put in there. So I talk about, people that, don't understand psychology, don't understand that and many people don't. Like, even the psychologists don't understand psychology because they don't understand that the things that they are being told are things that were meant to program society, and you're just like a gatekeeper, a guardian of that system. Even though you do help people, I'm not saying you don't, but you have to look at the things in your own mind. Some of these ideas from these men, they were just the architects of society. They were on the seventh dimension, architectural mastermind dimension, the higher mind. That's what they had. They had knowledge from ancient Egypt, ancient Kemet. They were using it in all of us. Ancient practices from Sumeria, man. Straight up mind control, which I'm going to break down. I'm going to preach a sermon called the source code, which I talk about. There is a source code for all of reality right now. And I learned this when I was in learning about technology. When I'm going to tell more later in the story, which in 2021 or close 2022, I was actually learning about tech, and I got a low level job working in a contractor for a big tech company, and I learned some things that opened my mind and to possibilities of tech in our age right now. So, powerful things. So I learned this in tech, and so the source code creates the interface. The source codes of the program are what make up the interface that we're experiencing. So there was an original interface that was created for us, and then somebody came along from another dimension, came into our dimension and put a colony here. That's where we're going to talk about the Anunnaki. I'm going to talk about all of that. Stay with me. I'm going to talk about all that stuff. So we're going to break down all of it because there's some deep stuff, and we need awareness. We need consciousness. We need to be able to know these ancient books and understand what they're talking about and understand how it relates to today, because we are living in the programs of ancient Sumerians. We're living in Hammurabi's code right now. Look at American politics right now. Not only is it Rome, but it's also all these draconian laws, Draco laws. What are they? They're there to make slaves out of people through a legal code. So we're going to talk about all that. We're going to talk about it because my podcast is also not only spiritual, it's also socially conscious, revolutionary, and showing the world where we are today, and that we need to radically change this because we are programmed. We are programmed to be a certain way. Like I was saying, I was programmed by rap music. I was, because Hollywood didn't have the best intentions for me. They were just trying to make money from me. And it got to a certain point where it got nefarious, and they started like sucking the soul out of our culture and our people. We lost our soul. We sold it for the money. Black Hippie Jesus here. What would a man give in exchange for his soul? Y'all gave your soul away to this reality, to this matrix, this interface that's been corrupted. So I'm talking about the source code of the Bible, and why we think the way we think. It comes from one book. So stay with me. It comes from one book. So we're gonna get into that too on the podcast. So just to wrap this part up. I had to save my own life. I was going through circumstance loops, and I was like, "Yo, this is the awakening. This is the part where you're like, look, stuff ain't right. I gotta change. So I did that. And I'm like, like I said, I got my weight down, I got things ready. Like, look, try to get on a path of success. Was trying to save my life. And then January 6th, 2021 happened. Or sorry, January 6th happened. That's when things really changed. Or I should go back a little bit before that. The Great Conjunction happened. And then my spiritual gifts started awakening and being reactivated. And this was really interesting because I was able to start seeing the future again, which when I was a Christian, I was able to do and tap into spiritual experiences through the religion. But outside of the religion, I started to have these metaphysical experiences now, where while being on cannabis for such a long time, cannabis actually reactivated my spirituality, my spiritual eye, and I was able to see the future of America, things that we are seeing right now. I was even starting to tap into and see. And it wasn't until my Buffalo trip, which I'll talk about, which I actually I see the sequence of it. It was like the light or the source showed me the future, things that are happening right now. I seen it months, and I talked about it. Talked about it on my YouTube, the Black Hippie Jesus YouTube. You'll see back in, I forget exactly what month it was, April or something like that, or before that. No, Jane, I forget. But I spoke before about what was going to happen with this war, and the war, and the war popped off. So I'm telling, so now I'm seeing the demise of America, and it was just specifically America. I didn't see other things really. It was more specifically what was going to happen to America. And I was like in America, just seeing visions after January 6th. It was like, oh, yo, this is because I didn't mention I was in school and I was studying history. Deeply studying history. And that's why the pandemic, I knew it was going to be over in a couple of years, because the pandemic of 1918, the Spanish flu was over in 2 years, 2 to some years, right? They still want to, I knew that people had to chill out for about 2 years, things would be okay. That's why I didn't think, they didn't need the vaccine back then, and we didn't need one now. They did develop one later, but that wasn't the solution to the problem. So this is where this whole debacle happened with setting people up with this thing. And it's like, yo, if you look at history, and that's why I say history is so important, that we got to go back. We got to go back to history to understanding the future, because the future is the past or cycle. Everything's a circle, right? Infinity. It's the same things going on and on until people raise their conscious levels. It goes on and on until the consciousness of the planet raises. When the consciousness of the planet raises, these loops stop. And that's where we're headed actually next. So actually we talk about the eschatology, about hell, and about, the separation between light and dark in this earth realm. That has happened because Earth is tired of some of the things that are happening. And metaphysically, these are just some spiritual things, that the Earth is changing. Earth is raising the consciousness, and we are also raising consciousness exactly the same. We are being raised to what's called the fifth dimension of consciousness, which I'll talk about at Faith Deconstructed on Patreon, which I will be sharing with you my teaching on Patreon, the 12 dimensions of consciousness, so you help you understand the kingdom as within you. And although that 1D, 2D, 3D, 4D, 5D stuff that you hear about. So we're going to get into that. But lost my train of thought talking about that. But we are going to get into that. So I was coming to a place of I had to awaken. And this awakening ended with me seeing the future, seeing things that were going to happen in America. And I seen that there was going to be what's going on right now. I talked about this to friends and people and family. I had these experiences because my third eye was being awakened. I was like, yo, there's going to be like a civil war in America. Like, look at this. And I was actually studying history. And that's what I was talking about before. I was studying history. I was making these connections. I'm like, yo, we're up for like some stuff right now. Like even on what's called the fourth turning. Like there are experts. There are people who study this stuff. They study how these cycles happen and what happens. These cataclysms all throughout history. And I'm studying history, just pure history. This was my conscience started going into the fifth dimension. I'm like, I want to know the truth about life. So I'm studying all these books and history. I'm learning about America and all these lies and different things. I'm like, yo, we are in a repeat of some things. And this is going to be the end, because this stuff can't keep going on. this deception and lies and darkness, all these whistleblowers, people don't want to think stuff is going on. It is. It's a lot of. It's not a matter of conspiracy anymore. It's a matter of taking your two eyes, and doing some investigation work, and pulling up some documents, some classified stuff, going in deep and finding out truth. On Patreon as well, I'm going to help people on the fifth dimension consciousness, how to really get into fifth dimension consciousness, how to find that truth, how to be what we call how to get concrete knowledge, and be like a metaphysical spiritual scientist, where you're looking at everything as just information and knowledge that we gather to find out the truth. You operate, when you're on fifth dimensional consciousness, you operate like a scientist with life. You don't believe anything, you don't disbelieve anything. This is my basis of life. I don't believe or disbelieve people. If people tell me something, if somebody told me they went to the moon, I'm like, look, I don't have no reason to disbelieve you, but I'm going to ask questions, and I'm going to try to understand your experience. So when we get to that level of consciousness, just be like, look, no one wants to debate you about this. I'm going to speak my truth. We're all raising a conscious. We're all finding out things. Eventually, when we get to concrete knowledge, when we get to the type of knowledge that is irrefutable or indisputable, that's where we build from. And that is most important. When you raise the fifth dimensional consciousness, you come to a state of consciousness where you are all about truth and like getting down to the facts, reality, not seeing through the lies. Your mind's open. So I was seeing on fifth dimensional consciousness prophetically, and also having, I was researching things, and I'm like, look, we're on the brink of disaster. America, the United States of America is on the brink of collapse, of disaster. You're gonna see people are gonna start seeing this stuff, like, because it's all like domino effect, like inch by inch. But today, a lot of us are blinded by the matrix, which is all about awakening from, becoming aware that the life we are living right now is not organic. The life that we are living right now is not a life that God meant for us to live. And so I'm talking about the source code, because we're not supposed to be living this life that we're living. And that's why it's so stressful and painful and dark and ugly and nasty. And we have to awaken from that. God didn't make this like this. We did. We allowed everything that's happening. We allowed because we don't do anything about it. And this was the part of the awakening experience where I got done with myself. So when you're on the third transition to the fourth, you're gonna start experiencing the shadows, going through the darkness. And I did that, and I came out with fifth dimensional consciousness. Like, look, now I want to know the truth. So my eye was open. I seen reality of America, and then I left Mexico. I had to tell people goodbye. Like, yo, this country, I don't know if y'all can see this shit, but this shit about to blow. I'm sorry if people thought I was crazy. I didn't give a fuck. Cause I'm like, look, I got eyes and I got a fucking mind, bro. Like, I studied. I was going to college during the age of information. I started college in 2015. I developed skills and abilities to be a sleuth when it comes to finding out information. I read journals. I look at medical journals. That's why I was looking at this COVID thing like, yo, this medical journals out here, people just not reading. The media wasn't even telling about. And I was reading that shit. That's why I'm always on a different state of consciousness. I'll be trying to talk to people, and it's always a problem. But it's all right though. I'm not tripping. I'm here for that, right? So I study, I break stuff down, I spend my time differently than people do. I'm not into entertainment. I don't even watch Netflix anymore. I don't even watch this stuff anymore, because look, I'm all about finding out the reality and figuring this thing out and building myself up. So when I say I transform my life, I'm not talking about money. I'm not talking about anything like that. I'm talking about, look, my mind, like getting back control of my life and all the things that are pulling me in these different directions, being what's called a self-master. So when I got to the level of self-mastery, that's when things were really over. So I went through the shadows. I got the fifth dimensional consciousness. I seen what reality was all about. I seen that America's a lie, a big, 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 big lie. And I gathered my shit and I said, I gotta get the fuck out of here. And I did, man. And I really enjoyed what the next story is about to happen next. So I'm ending right there on that note. But just know that it's all about raising the level of your consciousness, raising conscious levels, so that you can save your own life, can transform your own life. And that's what I did. So when I left, so part two, I'm going to talk about next week. I'm going to talk about the next part of the story of my transitional process when I got to Mexico and Quintana Roo, Playa del Carmen. When I got there, and the deconstruction process even further, because I had to still deal with my religion that was still in my mind. So even though I got myself out of some situations, as far as like my personal life, the things that I wasn't like working like a slave and all this stuff, and being in relationship with people I shouldn't have been with, and all this stuff, and doing all this stuff that I was programmed to do, I let go and I left, and I had to finish school, which I did, and I deconstructed my life and I got things together. So, Black Hippie Jesus here. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm so thankful everyone came. If you came back and listened again, thank you. I do also, once again, if you want to support me in this mission called Faith Deconstructed, uh, in the story I'm gonna get into later on, I'm gonna tell you why I'm doing this and how all is coming full circle. But if you do want to help me start a real type of ministry or church that's going to help people transform their lives, their consciousness, I'm going to use my skills and abilities that I've garnered over the years to actually help people overcome these challenges that we're having, especially in these last days, because I'm prepared myself to deal with the things that we're going to deal with and see the challenge that we're going to face. And there are ways, there's hope beyond where we are right now in this world. So I invite you to support me on Cash App. I do have Faith Deconstructed, money sign Faith Decon, and that helps me also stay free, so I continue doing this work. Like I said, I dig deep into what I do, and also I have a lot of insight to help give people. So it's Kwame, Selassie, the Black Hippie Jesus. Uh, Once again, thank you for coming. Thank you for listening. I appreciate everybody. I love everyone. I'm here for you. We are out once again. Thank you for listening to the show.